Duchniak.
Here.
Toman.
Here.
Gale.
Here.
Guzikowski.
Here. Tonight we have with us members of Troop 218. They are going to lead us in the pledge, so if everybody would please rise. And boys, when you're ready, please start us out.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we do the minutes, and I forget, Mr. Paul I'm going to say the name wrong. Manderly passed away on us recently. He actually passed on March 10th, and he was 91 years old. Mr. Manderly served as our fire chief back in the day. So, Tom, do you have the years as to how many years he served? There you have it. 37 years and 9 months of service to the city. On top of that, he was a World War II veteran. Helped establish the Legion here. So the city really thanks him for his service and wishes the best for his family going forward. Did have the pleasure to meet him over at Meadowmere here earlier in the year. They had us out to speak to the residents, and he was there. So again, just a great loss, and again, 91 years old. So hope the best for the family, and we thank Paul for his service. Please take a look at the minutes of 3/5/19. And if there's no omissions, errors, corrections, comments, or questions, motion when you guys are ready.
Burkowski will make a motion to approve the minutes of March 5th, 2019.
Duchniak, second.
Roll call.
Alderman Lorik.
Abstains.
Duchniak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzikowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Item 4 kicks off our public hearing. It is consideration of a rezone for the property at 3961 East Oakwood Road from RS2 Single Family Residential to RS3 Single Family Residential. Catherine, would you please read that into the record?
Public hearing number 1 is to consider a request by Stephen Krager to rezone the property at 3961 East Oakwood Road from RS2 Single Family Residential to RS3 Single Family Residential. Applicant is Stephen Krager, property owner Stephen Crackerty and Equity Trust Company FBO. There follows the legal description. Date of notice is February 13th, 2019.
Thank you, Catherine. Doug?
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Doug Seymour. I'm the Director of Community Development for the city, and this is a public hearing on a request to rezone the property at 3961 East Oakwood Road from RS2 Single Family Residential to RS3 Single Family Residential. So the purpose behind the request to change this lot is to allow the owner, who also owns the adjacent property to the east, to subdivide his properties into 4 similarly sized lots. And a draft certified survey map was included in the council's packet just to illustrate how that would be accomplished. The proposed zoning is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan, and staff supports the proposed zoning, as does the Plan Commission via their recommendation at their last meeting. If the zoning were to remain the same, I mean, it could still be developed residentially, albeit they'd have mixed lot sizes there, and this allows for a more even distribution of the lands and probably for a probably more cohesive land division and resulting subdivision there. So with that in mind, with the Plan Commission's recommendation, I will note that this is a public hearing, that anyone has any questions or comments regarding the proposed rezoning, to please fill out an appearance form. Once your name is called, please proceed to the podium and address your questions and or comments to the Common Council. This public hearing is now open.
Thank you, Doug. As Doug said, we will make 3 calls. This will be the first call. Second call. Third and final call. Anybody wishing to speak? We will now close the public hearing and move on to item 5, which is consideration of the ordinance to rezone that property at 3961 East Oakwood. We'll open it up to the council for questions, comments. Chris, anything?
I would just mention that at the Plan Commission, that it sailed through there.
I have to concur. I think Doug summed it up best. Kind of a no-brainer on this one. So, motion on 5, please.
Someone will make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2931, approving a rezone of the property at 3961 East Oakwood Road from RS2 Single Family Residential to RS3 Single Family Residential.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Dukniak.
Aye.
Tillman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorick.
Aye.
Item 6 is consideration of a resolution between an agreement between the City of Oak Creek and the Oak Creek Franklin Joint School District to approve memorandum of understanding on a partnership on local traffic calming and pedestrian safety enhancements. Andrew, you got that?
Sure, I'll start that one, Mayor, and then I'll turn it over if you have any questions regarding the technical solutions, I should say. We'll turn it over to Mike Simmons, City Engineer. I briefly mentioned this at our last meeting, if you recall, kind of the background, a little bit of background on this. What is before you this evening is our approval or our consideration of approval for a partnership with Oak Creek Franklin Joint School District regarding enhancements of some pedestrian safety and some traffic calming regulatory solutions on a stretch of road, Putes Road to more or less Oak Park Drive. The MOU really outlines those technical solutions at play, but also outlines the cost-sharing agreement between the city and the school district. This school district will be contributing a flat $50,000 towards the technical solutions. We feel that the estimate of about $97,000 is very conservative. We can provide the gamut of technical solutions probably at a much cheaper cost, but we're being conservative with those costs. And either way, the school district's share will be the $50,000 despite what the actual cost comes in at. That was designed specifically to give the city some funds for some of the ongoing maintenance efforts that will be necessary for these solutions. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions, and I know if there's any questions on the little exhibit that's in there regarding what the project scope it really entails, I know Mike is prepared to answer those for you as well.
We do have one resident wishing to speak, Mr. Dagner.
Arden Degner, 8540 South Pennsylvania Avenue. As you probably know, I've been concerned about the safe route to schools and sidewalks, and particularly this item. Let me give you some background. Back in 1974, the cost of gasoline or diesel fuel went up so high that the business manager, Art Olson, came in front of the council and said, please put in sidewalks. And the council did put in an asphalt paved sidewalk on the east side of Shepherd Avenue down to the, at that time it was the junior high. Now we may be facing the same situation. If you'll see the paper today, it mentioned that school districts are unable to find drivers for buses. And the point I'm trying to make is that this memorandum of understanding does not address any bicycle lanes around the senior high school on Putes Road. And I've been involved there for forever trying to improve Putes Road. There is 20 years ago, they put a stripe down so we could at least walk and bike on it. But to me, this is incomplete, because we're talking about all our elementary and middle schools to have possibility of, and may be necessary for walkers and bikers, but not how is anybody going to get to the high school safely on a bicycle with no provision there? So I would suggest that this should be carefully considered that in the future we may have to have a fatality at that spot when bicycles are not considered like they do in every other school.
Thank you, Mr. Dagner. Just for a little bit of backdrop on this, this MOU concerns traffic calming. So what we're trying to do is better address the traffic around the high school, control it, enhance the crosswalks, and make it safer for pedestrians. So this is a joint effort between the school district and the city. It is a step in the right direction. So again, we're trying to minimize any impact we have there during the congested times of school start and school ending there. So we do believe these enhancements will help control the traffic and also help control the intersections. So I guess I summed that up about as best I possibly could. We'll open it up. Questions, comments? Steve?
Alderman Kurkowski, First District. I think this is a very good plan, and recently on Facebook, on one of the neighborhood watch sites, there were a lot of, I wouldn't say inappropriate, but uninformed comments, because when this got posted, it was not complete. So perhaps if we approve this tonight, the entire plan, if we were to put that out on social media, I think the public would be greatly appreciative of the plan versus the tidbits that was out there and the misinformation that people were sharing. Also, with regards to bike lanes, Mr. Degner, it seemed to be the city of Milwaukee took 2-lane roads, repaved them, created a bike lane, and they went from 2 lanes of traffic to 1, which really congested the traffic. And that seemed to be the federal way of, if we pay for the repaving, we're going to give you a bike lane, but you only get 1 lane of traffic. So I would envision if we had to create bike lanes on Putes Avenue, we'd be down to 1 lane of traffic versus 2, and it would just make it the situation even worse with bikes out on Putes Avenue. I think that would be more of a danger to high school students than what we have right now. So I think it's a good plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Alderman Dukniak, 3rd District. This area is in the 3rd District, and I can honestly say that it has been an area of concern for residents of the 3rd District since my time in office. I'm sure it has been with my predecessor, Mr. Verhalen. For any of you that have tried to navigate that area from 7:20 to 7:50 a.m. and 2:40 to 2:55 p.m., know that it can be pretty challenging to get around that area. So I'm happy to see that there was the work between the city and the district to provide these safety enhancements. Certainly, I know the residents, the students, the parents of students will be relieved at the measures that are being taken to provide a safer environment for both pedestrians and drivers in that area.
Great, thank you, Rich. Greg?
Alderman Lorik, 2nd District. I would just echo the fact that this was a very important area of concern, so I'm glad it's getting addressed. I'm just curious as to, I know the amount of traffic in that area is concentrated in smaller portions of the day. Is there any type of, I guess, information or data that can be gathered prior to or after to judge the effectiveness of these improvements?
In the joint meetings we had, they will have traffic station monitors out there. Basically, also as the school improves, they just had a referendum pass, it will improve parking situations there. And a lot of this results from students parking off premise and walking across the intersection. So we're hoping with the enhanced crosswalks and signage, and of course the concrete cutouts that will begin in the summer, that will greatly improve things. And I think it'll probably be evident by the number of complaints that the officers observe, because officers do patrol that regularly, both at the beginning of school and the end of school. And those aren't SRO officers, or those are regular patrol officers out there doing that work. Chris, anything?
I would echo, the sentiments from the other aldermen here. I've been hearing also from my constituents about what's going to happen here. So I'm happy to see the joint effort going on this week between the city and the
the school board. I would ask that if it's possible, if you could provide a PDF, a little just better picture of understanding, just that I can have, that I can share with people of that area, that'd be great.
I just noticed that wasn't reprinted in color, which makes it a little more challenging, but you can kind of see in there a little bit of the before and after, and we'll get you a clearer picture of that, and then of course address any questions to Mike if you have them as you see that nicer image.
And I vaguely recall us looking at something at the CIP meeting. Now, I don't know if that was the specific item or not, or if it was what we were targeting, so.
That was one aspect of it. That was something that we were proposing to have done, and yes, that was in preparation of the 2019 budget, so we were going to take care of that this summer, but that will now be incorporated into the rest of the work that you see on the graphic.
Thank you.
All right. Alderman Gale?
Thanks, Mayor. Obviously, good to see the city and the school district working cooperatively on a solution here to obviously what's been an issue. I've hauled my kids, and they drove back and forth to that school for a long time. We've known there's been issues there for years, so it's good to see some progress being made. Mike, do you have any perspective on the time frame of these fixes being implemented?
Yes, if the approval does go through tonight, we are poised to start working right away with DPW. They have indicated that they should be able to, as soon as the frost comes out of the ground, and we're rapidly getting there, that they would be able to start installing bases for the proposed signs. So we would expect, before the end of school that at least the signs would be put in place. We don't recommend proceeding beyond that, because then you are tearing up sidewalk ramps, because those are going to be reconfigured.
So over the summer you'll do those?
So yeah, there's no reason why we wouldn't be ready by start of school in the fall with all of the improvements.
Okay. And that's also intentional, because there's going to be a little bit of education that needs to go along with this. And, say the last 3 or 4 weeks of school, we don't want to be changing, kind of the status to where people are relearning that. So we'll be working with the school district as we ramp up to the next school year to really educate the new crosswalk specifically. And again, reiterate some of the safety measures that they have iterated over the years to their students. So,
Mike, anything? No?
I just have one final comment. I know this was a matter of significant discussion at our traffic and safety committee meetings as well, and with some of the placement of some of the signage, because of the oddness of those crosswalks across from Pick and Save to where the 9th grade campus, with the elimination of some of that. I don't know if it's then the traffic and safety committee that has to make the recommendations for either the removal of or the repositioning of some of that signage, so it wouldn't be quite as confusing as it is right now. But I know that has been a matter of significant discussion to try and make things a bit easier to understand as you're navigating around the school.
Yeah, Alderman Dukniak, the plan has been, it really isn't in its pretty much finished state, and this was something that our design engineer Matt Sullivan has come up with, and it's all in accordance with the MUTCD. This was vetted with the group, school district, city staff, police department, and basically that's how the project, how the plan came together.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no other discussion, motion please.
Dukniak move to approve resolution number 12043-031919. This is a resolution between the city of Oak Creek and the Oak Creek Franklin Joint School District to approve memorandum of understanding. This will be a partnership on local traffic calming and pedestrian safety enhancements.
Oracle second. Roll call.
Alderman Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorick.
Aye.
Dukniak.
Aye.
Item 7 is from the Water and Sewer Utility, and it's consideration of a resolution for a preliminary resolution declaring intent to exercise a special assessment under the municipal code for a 12-inch water main loop on West College Avenue from 27th to South 20th Street. Brian. Mr. Johnston.
Good evening, Brian Johnston, utility engineer. This is intent to special assess a 12-inch water main on College Avenue from 27th Street to 20th Street. This is improved water quality and also fire protection for the area.
Little backstory on this. It's also closing the loop in there, correct?
Correct, it is.
So we'll have better water efficiency, less likely if water main breaks that anybody's out of service because it does complete the loop also. Questions? Nothing? Oh, you got off easy your first time around, Brian.
Perfect.
Seeing no discussion, motion.
Lorik moves that the council adopt resolution 12042-031919, a preliminary resolution declaring intent to exercise special assessment powers under section 3.200 of the municipal code of the city of Oak Creek.
Kirkowski, a second.
Roll call.
Alderman Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Item 8, I would ask for a motion to hold to the next meeting due to a clerical error in the resolution. Any,
Lorik will move to hold item 8.
we have to give a date, Melissa? To the meeting of April 1st, please.
Till the meeting of April 1st.
Dukenyak, second.
Roll call.
Alderman Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Item number 9 is consideration of a resolution accepting the 2018 annual report for the Oak Creek WPDES stormwater. Mike.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the annual report for our NR 216 permit. This is our sediment control, erosion control, sediment control permit with the DNR. And this basically the report summarizes the effort by stormwater personnel, engineering, and DPW as they basically perform the duties that they are obligated to under the permit. This has to do with maintenance of the city-owned ponds. There are 19 of them. The continuous street sweeping and catch basin cleaning, issuance of erosion control permits, and enforcement of the permit requirements. There's also participation in the Southeast Wisconsin Clean Water Network and all of their initiatives. So basically, it's just kind of business as usual. This is our ongoing obligation under the permit. So not a lot to report this year out of the ordinary, other than our stormwater engineer tells us that the city has now exceeded, since 2001, over 5 million pounds of sediment removed from catch basins and from street sweeping. So all of that would otherwise make its way into the storm sewer and then down into our streams and lakes. So good news, obviously. So
Right. Mike. Questions for Mike? Anybody?
I did have one obscure one, Mayor. Mike, is this standard? We historically dispose of our leaf collections at the landfill in Franklin, or we had composted those in other years?
that's a good question. I don't know if that had been landfilled. I wish Ted was here to tell us if we're bringing them to the yard.
They are accepted there. I just read that on our new website. When I was looking at every page of
Excellent.
that new website.
No, I'm talking because I think historically, or sometimes we've taken them. There's out on there where Raymond Heights Golf used to be. I think there was a composting.
Oh, a
site that we
composting. Okay.
I don't know. Ricky, maybe you know.
Mike? Hey, Rick, can I bother you to come on up to the microphone, Rick?
As long as you're here, you may as well make use of you, right?
Sometimes we take them out to the farm, it's called, and it's out towards 7 Mile along the freeway where they set them out, and then they just make topsoil out of them. And then right now we got a whole bunch that's stored along our salt shed and a concrete wall that were most of the year that was collected with the sweepers and everything else. So that's where they're at now. So I don't know what we're going to do in spring. I don't know.
That answered for you?
Yeah.
Thanks, Rick.
All right.
Any other questions? Seeing none, motion?
Lorick moves that the council adopt resolution number 12044-031919, a resolution accepting the 2018 annual report for Oak Creek's WPDES stormwater.
Dukenyak, second.
Roll call.
Alderman Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorick.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Item 10 is consideration of a resolution accepting the dedication of public improvements and release from the development agreement for the Wall residence at 10100 South 8th Avenue. Mike, when you're ready.
So item 10 and 11 are related. 10 is for the dedication and release from the development agreement, and this is for the property 101-100 South 8th Avenue. The property developer or home builder is Stephen and Susan Wall, and they purchased that large property, and the property had potential for development into really several lots. They chose to build one single-family home on the lot. Now there is a road pattern on the far west end of the property that spanned basically north to south across that parcel, and thought it'd be a bit excessive to require them to construct a public road across that whole frontage to accommodate one home. There was an agreement then that was made that they would get access to that property with a public roadway, that being basically to finish off the current dead end, or what had been just a straight dead end to that road, with a cul-de-sac end, and we call it a temporary cul-de-sac because it's not to a full dimension, and yet it is more than adequate to accommodate private vehicles. Therefore, their driver will be coming off of that, and then of course even larger city vehicles. So trash, recycle collection, and snowplows can safely make that turning movement as they enter and exit that the end of that roadway. So basically, they have constructed that to city standards, and it has been deemed acceptable, and we therefore recommend that it be accepted by the city to own and maintain going forward, and that they be released from the development agreement.
Any questions for Mike?
Mike? Alderman Toman, 4th District. I'm trying to picture exactly where that is, Mike.
I'm sorry, this is on 8th Avenue,
Yeah,
and
8th.
yes, 8th Avenue tees off the north side of O'Brien Road. And I think that there's 3 driveways that come off of that road, 8th Avenue currently.
Okay.
It will be 4 now.
Oh, I know where it is. Okay, all right. And that the cul-de-sac was constructed with his own money? That was funded
Yes.
by him?
Yes.
Okay, right. That's good, thank you.
Anybody else? If nothing, motion please.
I want to make a motion to adopt resolution number 12047, accepting dedication of the public improvements and release from the development agreement for the Wall residence at 10100 South 8th Avenue.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Lorick.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye. Item 11 is consideration of a resolution accepting the temporary cul-de-sac easement from the property owner of 10100 South 8th Avenue. Mike, you want to finish this one up?
Yes, so, of course, this is a public roadway or public paving of the cul-de-sac, and it is on private property, therefore there is the need for the easement so that there is legal access to that and use of that cul-de-sac. So it's a 100 foot by 100 foot square, as you can see it on the graphic, that contains the cul-de-sac. So we need to accept that and have that easement recorded at the Register of Deeds.
Any questions, comments? If none, motion.
Someone will make a motion to adopt resolution number 12046, accepting a temporary cul-de-sac easement from the property owner of 10100 South 8th Avenue.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Dukniak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Item 12 is consideration of a resolution approving a stormwater management practices maintenance agreement with Oak Creek Rawson Industrial LLC for their HSA 6th and Rawson development located at 610 West Rawson Avenue. Mike.
This is the standard stormwater management agreement that is required as properties develop. This is, my understanding, is a large facility that's going to be at the corner of Rawson and 6th Street, across from Fire Station 3. And there are three, on the site plan, there are three stormwater ponds basically to handle that runoff from that development. And so therefore we need this agreement so that they maintain these two standards so that they function.
Any questions regarding the property at 610 West Rawson? Seeing none, motion.
Kirkowski will make a motion to approve resolution number 12048-031919, approving a stormwater management practices maintenance agreement with Oak Creek Rawson Industrial LLC for their HSA 6th and Rawson development located at 610 West Rawson Avenue.
Lorik will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukniak.
Aye.
Item 13 is consideration of a motion to enter into an environmental professional service agreement with Stantec for the Lake Vista North site for an estimated contract of $52,500. Mike.
Mike, I could probably start this and talk a little bit at a high level, and then we can get into the nitty gritty of the proposal. And I think this will probably be a combo of Mike, Doug, and if necessary, Melissa and myself on this. I think to sum this up, I try to distill things down into bite-sized sound bites for myself. So I'll just relay that to you. Try to simplify this because it's a very complex project, as the whole lakefront has been. So if you look at the lakefront, you have we'll consider the south segment and the north segment. And on the south segment, over the many years of work and partnership with the city and many partners, there were buildings. There were, and this is where the park and the redevelopment properties are now. The former Epic and DuPont, now city-owned properties, and then the Berkey Family Trust properties. On that south segment, the city went through a long process. There were buildings, there were known contamination, environmental issues, and through the years, a plan was developed such that the ultimate goal of getting those properties to a redevelopable state could be attained. And that's called a remedial action plan process, right? And if I misspeak, you guys have the longer history on this, so please jump in, Mike and Melissa and Doug. So we identified what our targets were. We identified through the DNR and other regulatory agencies, we identified what our targets were, what we needed to do to execute that remedial action plan, essentially form an environmental cap over the soil to allow those parcels to get to a redevelopment state. We are there with those properties on the south segment. We have Lake Vista Park, and we're now actively marketing the acreage around, adjacent to that park. That's ready to go, so long as the city and its future development partners meet the covenants and restrictions and maintain the integrity of that remedial action plan into the future via deed restrictions and other regulations. We are not there yet with the north segment, which is comprised of 3 city-owned parcels that form the ribbon along the lakefront, the bluff, as well as a large piece of property in the former Peter Cooper property. So in sum, and at a high level, what this study is looking to do is identify for us and for WISPark and for future development partners what that target is for that tract of land. What do we need to do? How much would it potentially cost the city and its development partners and WISPark? How much would it potentially cost, given various alternatives that are looked at from an environmental standpoint, to really cap that those environmental issues and get that to a redevelopable state, such as we did with the south segment. So that this contract does that. It does not remediate the property or put that cap in place, but it tells us exactly, what it is that's going to be acceptable from the regulatory agencies, so we know what that target is, what that cap will look like and necessarily need to be in order to make that redevelopable in the future. So I don't know, did I sum that up okay? I know there's a lot more context in the report, but that's a high level analysis of what we're attempting to do, identify what it is we'll need to do from an environmental standpoint out there. And that includes handling the wetlands that are on both the city-owned parcels as well as WISPark's parcels. As you can see in the staff report, this is a partnership. This initial analysis here is a partnership with WISPark, a 50-50 cost share on the costs for the study. And I would also note that if you look at the very last deliverable in the Stantec proposal, I want to say it's it's $14,000 for case closure. At this stage and immediately in this contract, we may not realize that cost because the case closure is you've identified likely sources of funds, probably most importantly, but also importantly, you've identified sources of soil that would be utilized to effectively form this environmental cap, this target that we will get through this engineering analysis. We'd like to ask for that in case, as you can see, the planning timeline for this, I think, goes well into 2020 off the top of my head. And there may be an opportunity for, a source of soil or maybe some funds via grants or other sources of funds that could come up kind of ideally to allow us to get to that case closure. But we don't have a crystal ball that far ahead. So we may not realize that last $14,000 in the immediate term. Anything to add to that?
I think you cover very well, and it's just the message is that this was always part of the plan, and that site has been very useful over the last couple of years, accepting soil from some of these other developing sites in the city, and it really saved a lot of money by being available to take those soils, and we just feel that we're ready to get that site, get the planning in order, get the permitting in order, and then work to get the construction underway, get that site prepared for development.
We can't quite get our arms around the scope of the project and the cost of the project without this engineering study, and that's exactly what we're trying to do, so we can further plan how we get that to a redevelopable state. What financial interests and what financial elements are out there for us to be able to consider and plan for.
Questions, comments? Go ahead, Mike.
Alderman Tolman, 4th District. Got a couple of questions here. First, it's a good step forward, I got to say, because everybody knows here I'm for lakefront development. So this is definitely a positive, but I've had a couple of questions here. That 52.5 that's listed there, is that represents the total? So that would be half. West Park would be half of that. Okay.
That's the total. So
Okay,
it would be
and
50-50.
then if the case closure doesn't come to fruition, that it's 14 off the top of that 52.
Correct.
All right. Does this get us to a VPLE eventually, like we have on the other property?
This will get the plan needed to get the site remediated to a developable state. Now, the goal is not VPLE on this site as it was on the Lake Vista South site. This is a 700 procedure. I'm not giving you the exact term, but it is not as cumbersome and hard to achieve as the VPLE.
Not as hard.
No, but it still will. It's still going to entail grading of the soil, capping of the soil, but it just doesn't take it all the way to what a VPLE. The VPLE gets the property owners out of any kind of chain of responsibility, and it puts it on the DNR. So if there's any issues that develop, the DNR is involved. That would not be the case with this north site. And what we know of this north site is that the constituents, the contaminants, are not to the level of what we encountered and had to deal with on the Lake Vista South site.
Saw that they were listed as low level. They were
correct.
Yeah. What's the funding source on this study? Where are we coming up with this?
Yes. If you recall, Alderman Tolman, we have established a donor-donee relationship from TID 6 to TID 13. So we had kind of a clean sweep of $1.8 million out of TID 6 to TID 13, which handled some of the pre-planning and pre-TID costs that we had incurred. However, for 4 consecutive years, we also have a donation from TID 6 to TID 13 in the amount of about $400,000. We're in year 2 of that, so we have some funds available in TID 13 to cover the $26,250 or thereabouts that we might be looking at.
Let's see what else I got here. Where exactly are the wetlands on here, Mike? Are they mostly on the West Park property? Or?
No, there are sporadic wetlands across this site. None of them are high-quality wetlands, and they are attributable to historic settling ponds from the industrial use days, and also some poor grading up at the like the northeast corner portion of the site, which are the city properties. There's rolling hills, and those are in part due to that's where they were stockpiling their failed glue batches, and so the site is not drained well, so that's where you had some of that standing water and created wetlands. Now these are real wetlands, but they are low quality. They have contaminated material in them as well.
What's the plan on that storage building that still exists there on the south end?
It's still in use. West Park is using that. They are. I'm failing me it's failing me the material that they're storing in there.
Organized.
The gypsum.
Gypsum.
Yeah.
Organized.
And so that's a source of income for them, and eventually that's going to cease. And that building, it's been explored. If there's any reuses for it, it's in really rough shape though. If you go in there, probably just going to come down.
Well, West Park controls that. Obviously, it's on their property. Right?
Yes.
Bluff stabilization was my next issue. We're not doing a study on it. I mean, obviously this was planned as a ribbon park, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we're not doing a study on a a piece of property that may not someday to be developed because of the bluff issue? That was one of my concerns.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would just add that when the conceptual plan was accepted, bluff stabilization is a component of that. So it's a matter of when, not if, that is going to be have to be addressed.
You have enough depth there from the bluff to have the park and stabilize the bluff at the same time? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
If you're talking from a financial standpoint, no, we don't at this time. I mean, so what we know of these projects, they are very pricey, and however, they're also viewed as necessary, and that there are you got to dig, but we think we can find some significant funding sources.
I guess what I'm saying
grant
is
money.
The bluff stabilization could take up a good portion of the Ribbon Park. Conceivably.
Yeah, it depends. We've looked at some conceptual designs, and it depends on how you do it. If you build out into the lake, then you don't touch the upper reaches of the property. And I mean that's done. That's what was done at the Epic property 15 years ago. And of course, that's where we have now built that switchback for Lake Vista Park. So something like that is feasible.
I think that's it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Go ahead.
Alderman Guzikowski, 6th District. Just a quick question on the funding here. So we're splitting the 52.5 between the city and West Park. That's just for the study, correct? It wouldn't be if something were to go forward down the road that we're going 50-50 and with West Park and the city on everything?
If we apply the same criteria, there's a mutual benefit. So I guess I would say I don't see us splitting the study and then taking on 100% of the construction costs. I mean, we're going to be looking at this study together with West Park as a partner in this, and as that plan develops, they're going to be right there along with us.
I had one more thing.
Go ahead,
Sorry.
Mike.
On the bluff stabilization issue, is there a possibility that West Park would be a partner in that? Because I know that can run into some big bucks. The reason I'm asking that is because from the looks of that map, to me, the most developable part of that property is to the west. I mean, a Ribbon Park is not going to generate any income for the city, but if West Park develops that property with our money that we stabilize the bluff for, is that, you get what I'm getting at?
I do. They might not see it that way. And
well, without bluff stabilization, they don't get to develop, right?
I'd like to talk about engineering issues, not money issues.
Well, I think that when you look at the site, they have a lot of developable property that has no impact on the bluff. And I think when you look at the costs that they're going to have to share with us for executing a RAP, I think that is obviously an easier lift to talk West Park into that. They should be motivated to do that because it's their property. I think the discussion on sharing financial liabilities to the bluff stabilization project with West Park would be a tougher argument to make for us. Not saying we won't ask, but certainly their answer could be no.
I think also to add that these are project eligible costs as part of the district, and the district, as we've used districts in the past, has really formed the basis for very successful public-private partnerships. And I have little doubt that there would be a public-private partnership involved in ultimate redevelopment of these properties as well.
In the form of grants or
don't know. I mean, typically it's through, obviously the basic TIF model is the increment that's generated by those parcels or throughout the district goes to pay off those project costs. And typically there's some rationale, some basis for an agreement to make sure that the city has the development that's necessary to pay off those costs. I mean, it can go any number of routes. I mean, the basic format has been, I mean, there's increment, there's no taxes being generated, or there's a base of taxes being generated right now. And obviously with development that would go up, those increased taxes go to pay off those project costs, which really were necessary for that development. It's, now, what the ultimate form of that agreement may be, I don't think anyone in this room can tell you right now, but I think it's with reasonable confidence we can say that it will take a public-private partnership to redevelop that parcel.
You know, and some, just to, you know, summarize what Doug said, I mean, I think a viable contribution from Wispark is successfully developing their parcel with increment that we could use for other project costs district-wide, including the Bluff. I think that's the approach that they would take. But again, there's a lot of discussion that needs to take place and a lot of you know, negotiation that will ensue here in the form of developing partnerships on these projects.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, motion?
Someone will make a motion to enter into an environmental professional services agreement with Stantec for the Lake Vista North Site 8730, 8850, 8940, and 9010 South Fifth Avenue for an estimated contract total of $52,500.
Guzekowski, second.
Roll call.
Alderman Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Item 14 is licensing. I'd like to turn that over to Alderman Kirkowski and just make you aware that on item 2 of item 2 in there, there's a resident wishing to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. Then perhaps having that resident come up and speak now would be appropriate.
Mr. Dagner?
For you, can you just appear on the mic?
Arden Degner, 8540 South Pennsylvania Avenue. This should actually be items 3 and 4, Alderman, because as I've mentioned at the License Committee meetings and before, we have a Board of Health in charge of the city to try to encourage and discourage addiction. Now, we have all these monies and spent, and as I mentioned in the past, alcoholism is a major addiction, and I object to the fact that a city permit is given to an employee that is funded by tax money to actually work against the health of the city. I don't know if the other day I passed around my ice cream cone. Well, why have we promoted that? No, the whole society has broken down into addiction, and in fact, it's impossible, or not. It's very difficult to hire young people today that even pass a drug test. And we in the city and the Board of Health are trying to address that. This is the beginning of the addictions. I mean, of course, we have tobacco, but I'm addressing this whole item that we're talking about now, the beer. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess I'll comment. These are just standard practices for festivals that provide goods and services that people can choose to partake in or not. Broad assumption is that it can be addictive. You are correct. Anything can be addictive, whether it's tobacco, alcohol, whatever. That comes down to personal responsibility. We do encourage responsibility in everything we do here. And again, it's just another service being provided within the city. And again, alcohol can be found throughout the city, throughout the county, in these forms. So again, it is up to the individuals to be responsible with what they do and don't do. Steve?
I think what I want to add is that, as you said, Mayor, is that this is a process that we use for any festival, any event that folks are going to have in the city, and these just happen to be held by our tourism commission, which is funded by motel tax, not the general taxes that the public pay. But irregardless, I would think that we have safe serve protocols in place, not just at these events, but every other event that we have, because I believe that's a requirement. And like you said, beer and wine and alcohol is everywhere, and we encourage responsibility. And I'm sure that if someone sees a problem, they're gonna address it accordingly. So again, these are just a mechanism that we use to approve these events. People can choose to go or not to go. So, anybody else have any comments on anything in the report? Not just 3 and 4, but anything else?
Fine report.
A fine report? Okay. Well, thank you there, Alderman Gale. With that, Kirkowski make a motion to adopt the License Committee recommendations as listed on the March 19, 2019 License Committee report.
Niak, second.
Roll call.
Alderman Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukniak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Item 15 is our March 13th, 2019 vendor summary report. Please take a look and direct your questions to Melissa, Mike. I'm sorry, not Melissa. Bridget.
I mean, everybody else can take the questions.
Yeah. Melissa can always answer everything anyway, so.
Whoa. This is our last report where we will be splitting it between 2018 and 2019 as the audit is next week. So we kind of cut it close here with a couple of these items.
No questions or comments? Motion?
I'll move to approve the March 13th, 2019 vendor summary report in the combined total amount of $430,640.15.
Guzekowski, a second.
Roll call.
Alderman Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukniak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Item 16 is to consider a motion to convene into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statutes, Section 19.85, Parent 1, Parent C, to discuss the performance evaluation of the city administrator. President Gale?
Thank you, Mayor. Gail moves to convene into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute, Section 19.85, Sub 1, Sub C, to discuss the performance evaluation for the city administrator.
Guzekowski, a second.
Roll call.
Alderman Lorik.
Aye.
Dukniak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye. We will now convene into closed session and resume at its conclusion.
Guzekowski, a second.
Roll call.
Alderman Dukniak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Item 18 is consideration to take appropriate action. Melissa?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. In reference to the city administrator, we have a motion to approve for the city administrator a 2.25% base building salary increase effective January 1, 2019, payable commensurate with the next pay period, and in 2019 and thereafter, the city administrator shall be entitled to 20 days paid time off, and a $3,000 non-base building bonus payable commensurate with the next pay period.
Gail will concur with the city attorney's recommendation.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye. And that brings us to adjournment.
Kirkowski will make a motion to adjourn.
Dukenyak second.
Roll call.
Alderman Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Thank you all for watching tonight or attending. Wish you a happy holiday, and we will see you in 2 weeks.